All right. Welcome back to another episode of the I Love Annuities podcast. Today's episode is titled Empowering Smarter Annuity Decisions with our guest, Senior Annuity Advisor here at Annuity Association, Mr. Tom Boyle. I'm Jeremiah Conger here with my co-host, Zachary Van Ness. Of course, we are the Annuity Dudes. Come on, Zach. Bringing clarity, transparency, and a little more fun into the world of annuities. Today, we've got our special guest, Tom Boyle, our very own. He is a key member of our team here at Annuity Association, and he's been instrumental in helping retirees and pre-retirees cut through the noise and make smarter annuity buying decisions.
That's right. And today we introduce Tom and his story. He brings a good one. Tom brings a wealth of experience and passion for helping others, all of his clients, avoid the common mistakes that too many make when considering an annuity. So we're excited to dive into his background, hear about the hurdles he sees with his clients, and how he helps create a better annuity buying experience.
So without further ado, Tom, welcome to the show. Let's start with your background here. Tell our listeners a little about your journey, how you ended up in this industry, how you ended up here at Annuity Association, and what experiences ultimately shaped your approach to helping people with better annuity buying decisions.
Well, thanks a lot, guys, for having me. I really appreciate the time. That's a lot that you're piling on me. Where did I start? I started out of college back in 1993. That gives you an idea of how long I've been around. I've been in the financial services business right out of college, mostly on the institutional side. I worked in a bond house, and then I worked on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange for about 2 decades. And that kind of leads into how I started making a transition onto the other side, which I call the other side of the ledger. Really, that's the non-guaranteed side to the guaranteed side. And I was learning a lot about annuities, because the annuities was like a dirty word back then for all the stock jockeys, right? They all were like, "Why are you doing that?" And that was my father was one of those guys. So I took a while for me to learn about that stuff. And how I eventually got there was really just about, well, it was a lot of the things that happened to everybody that's probably on this call that either had parents there or they were involved in that stuff. The .com bubble, 9/11, the housing crisis in the 2012. So all led me to kind of take a look at this whole investment universe and try to figure out, there's got to be a better way or maybe a little bit more of a balance, because I saw many, many people lose their retirement savings or their investment savings, their dream money. And that to me led me to kind of find out about the insurance industry and where, the things that most people like. Even when I was younger, people talked about pensions like my grandparents. Like all these people now don't have those anymore. So how can we recreate that? And that's how I started to matriculate over to the other side of the aisle.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. It's really interesting to hear someone that, grew up in this industry. I know that your father had a lot of influence in that, and that's what originally drew you into financial services. And it's interesting to hear your experiences working in this industry and going through those very volatile periods of our economy. Like you mentioned, the .com bubble, the global financial crisis and housing crisis in 2007 and 8. Ultimately, it's interesting to hear you, though, like share the experiences of the people you were serving at that time and the emotions that they were going through during that crisis. And I think that's really where, knowing you, Tom, and knowing how much you care about people, knowing how much you want to make an impact on someone's financial future. I would imagine that at that time when your clients and maybe prospective clients were starting to experience those pain points of those financial crisis eras, I imagine you were starting to scratch your head and beat yourself up a bit regarding how maybe you could have done some things different to help those people during that time. I know that you always want to help people. So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. So when I look back, let's say before 9/11, a couple things I saw happening. Right, we had the dot-com bubble that was going on there, and I had young friends in the industry that were my age that were really highly compensated, and they had amassed some decent wealth. I mean, really good wealth. But I also had people like my mother's brother, who was my uncle, who worked down on the floor for a big company down there. And he had spent his whole life working for those guys to be unceremoniously let go because of the financial problems that were going on there. And it was right at a point where he had a few more years to go before he was going to leave. And that really affected me. And my father had told me years and years ago, hey, if you get a chance, you should work for yourself because you can control your own destiny. And I saw that. Pete's a very good guy. If he ever ends up watching this, Pete Igo's a fantastic guy and a guy that I've always looked up to, and I thought was unfair the way that his end of his career went. But there were so many people like that, and I just felt terrible for them. And I just thought that there must be another way that we can, some type of balance. And again, I didn't come from the pension world, right? That was kind of phased out at that point. The 401k world and the IRA world had taken over, and it was in its full swing. And I had my own IRA at the time. But I saw many versions of that man that was, still close to our family, and many versions of like that where I just thought, wow, that's wrong. That's not the way it should be. It doesn't have to be that way. And then, there were versions of 9/11 where young people lost their most important people in their lives, and they were the breadwinners, and how that affected them. I came from a neighborhood that lost 30 people in the neighborhood.
Wow.
Right. And I lost guys that were right around the corner from me. I was on the floor the day those planes hit. So, and we used to take clients up to the top of the World Trade Center to have breakfast because it was right close by. Well, that was like any other day that day. It was a beautiful day out. So a group of brokers that did exactly what I did, that we worked next to each other for years and years, they had their whole desk up there taking care of their clients. They never showed up again. Right. And the impact of what that had to their, not only the floor community, which was devastated, but the ripple effect it has across, the communities and stuff like that. So I saw that. And when I decided to move from New York and leave that job, which I'd been around for a long time, and recreate myself and my family down in North Carolina, that was something that I really kind of wanted to look for. I always loved the financial industry. We served the institutional community, the clients. We had the best clients. I love talking to them every day and helping them get their work done. And that was something that I missed. And when I moved over to this side of the aisle, I recreated that. I found that again. But even more importantly, I was working with individuals and their families. And I think that that's really the impact for me that makes the biggest difference every day. I get to talk to people all over the country and help them work out their financial puzzle. And it's very gratifying.
I love to hear that, man. I think it's important for our audience to know, more of the personal side of you, Tom, as alongside your work history and background. I know that your father was a big influence in your life and in your career, and that, he's one of your idols, growing up and even present day, even after he's passed. Could you share some of the core values and principles your father had that influenced you in what you do today?
Yeah. I mean, background, my father was Marine. Some have negative connotations, some have positive. Mine are positive. He was very organized. He was very team driven, and an overall very positive guy. If anything, he was a little too tough on himself, which is kind of the training, right, and the background that he had. But it was everything about, be true to yourself, have a moral code. You'll spend your whole life building your name, and you can ruin it in one day by making the wrong decision. Those types of things were constantly imprinted on me. And he didn't just talk, he lived by that. And to be able to watch somebody from that perspective as a young boy to, I had a great relationship with my father all the way up until he passed. And I really looked to that man for a lot of the guidance that I looked, that I took. And I was very fortunate to have him as long as I did have him. And I looked at him as a teacher. Was he perfect? No. But I mean, the values that I have today are really based on that foundation that he laid.
Him being a part of your career early on, working the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, and now him, if he were to be here today, and him seeing what you're doing now and how you're helping people on the retirement phase of their life, what would he say about it?
He would be very proud. He would be. My father retired when he was 55 of bad health. He was a very financially well-off person. It was all about family. He was married to my mom for 60 years. He saw so many people, even with money, struggle at the end of their lives. They thought they were well off. So to be able to use my background in a different type of way to help people, I'll give you an idea of what type of person he was. So he always had, even when he was retired, he always had three things going on. He had a major investment that he was working on that was funded by himself and a group of people. And then he had you guys are from Jupiter. So the time that he spent in the community was raising money for the Jupiter Medical Center. That was his full-time job. That's what he looked at. From 55 until the day he died at 77, he spent his days doing that. And then he had an individual project that was going on. The individual project was always an individual, and they could have been anybody, guys, that nobody else really knew about, that he would pour into, whether that was mentoring them, whether it was helping them financially. There was some way that he was working on the side that almost nobody knew and didn't need to know about, because it's not where you're measured where everybody's watching you. It's what you're doing when nobody's watching you. And he always thought of everybody as fairly equal people, meaning everybody deserved to be nice, right? So you treat the guy that's opening the door at the hotel the same as your billionaire friend. And that's the way he looked at it. So I try to emulate that, and I take those into the relationships, because that's what we have with the people that we meet with. This is a relationship business. And I always look back and say, you know what, you're right. Like, I spent a long time. I've been in this business a long time, guys. One way, shape, or form. Nobody has been more regulated than me. I had 20 years of a microphone on me and a video camera on me. I was audited twice by the SEC every year, which I had to pay for. Right? We're super regulated also. And it's taken me, all that time to have that name. You can go on my CRD number, or you can go on my NPN number and look and say, is there any hickeys on this guy? Because I look at it a much longer term play. Right. So he would be very happy. He would be very happy.
Yeah. Tom, I can tell that your father was a man of gratitude. You used the example of holding the door open, no matter who or where that person came from or how much money they made, he still treated them with respect and treated them, with kindness. And I see a lot of that in you. So I'm glad to hear that's one of the principles that carried over into you and your personal life and working career. And I think that's why you've been so successful here at Annuity Association. And it's because you have these core values that carry on into your process of how you help people. Our core values obviously align with that, integrity, doing the right thing, even when no one's watching. That's something that I personally and professionally abide by. Like, that's been a non-negotiable for me since I was young. And that's really ultimately how we built this organization, was doing the right thing. That's always been the foundational building block of our enterprise. And that's why we believe transparency and education must come first in order to ultimately help people make better annuity buying decisions, which is our mission. So can you tell me how our company's core values aligned with yours, and like what you really love about being here, and how it's had an impact on your career, but also your working or your personal life?
There's a lot to unpack there. I really like people. That's one thing. And I'm really generally interested in what other people do. My background, where I came from, a lot of people did the same thing, guys. Garden City, New York, a lot of finance people, a lot of lawyers. I'm not saying it was a bad thing at all. It was a great thing. But what you don't get is a lot of diversity with regards to meeting the types of people. And there's a lot of interesting folks out there all over the country. So I love the ability to, and so if you think about where I worked in a bubble. I grew up over here. I got on a train. I went into another bubble. Right? There was a lot of doing the same thing. So when I was able to kind of get out and look around, just very interesting people. I get to speak with people from NASA, engineers, police departments, all these people all over the country, doctors, lawyers, multiple different types of engineers, all different from where I came from. I'm very generally interested in learning about these people. And our way of going in and helping these people is to get to know them, understand what it is, why are they looking at these annuities? What is it that they want to achieve? So I really kind of think of myself as, one, an educator for the most part, and two, I'm a puzzle fixer. Right? And you can't really get to understand the puzzle unless you know what's on the table. Right? And from a fiduciary standpoint, just to say, hey, look, I want to help you. I want to look at things from your standpoint, and I'll take as much time as you need to get to where we're not going to force that. I really like that. Right? We don't need to force anything. In fact, the process can work in a much better setup for the client to feel comfortable and have trust. And that's going to take some time for some people. I like that because it means I get to meet somebody new and learn about them. That's vesting in a relationship. And I've always liked that.
Yeah.
I love that, man.
That's great. And I mean, the core values show through. It's funny talking to you, and we do this on a podcast. Some of the stuff that we learn about each other just in this is awesome. So the core values that you have that were passed down to you, they're ingrained in what we do every day with Annuity Association. One of the things that we look at is creating a better annuity buying experience and bringing exactly your core values to the table. One of the things we talk about a lot, whether that's internal or here on the podcast, is just really breaking down the traditional annuity buying process and what that's been, and trying to provide some value that maybe hasn't been brought to the forefront as often. Things like the confusing jargon, high pressure sales, hidden fees, anything like that. Now, you've been on the front lines for a while, helping clients navigate all of that. What do you see, if any, of the biggest flaws in the old ways of doing things with annuities?
Oh, the biggest flaws? The lack of options. I think probably when I start speaking to somebody, I'm always just trying to figure out where they're coming from and what options are they being shown. Where's the way that Zach's a younger guy. Zach's got a longer road than Tom does, right? And that's going to be more options based on what's going on. So I'm trying to figure that out and trying to shorten the time span, and because we're technology driven, right? And we have probably the largest platform of companies, good companies with great products that anybody else can have. And that allows us the ability to be able to show that. Now, depending on what you're looking at, what we're trying to do is turn 100 roads down to 50, down to 10, down to 3. Not to tell the client what to do, but to help them, put them in a good place where they can make a good decision and feel good about it, right? So I really like the technology part of it, and it really is. Hey, I mean, you guys know, almost everybody we're talking to is guy comes in and says, well, so-and-so is showing me this. I said, well, why are they showing you that? Well, I don't know. Why do you think they are? And then I'll ask them, well, what do they do? What is their organization? And more from an educational standpoint, because once they know who they're talking to, then they really kind of figure out like why those people are showing them those things, right? Just a simple, like, what do we say? I'm going to give you a peek behind the curtain, right? Why do we do our meetings on Zoom? Because we're trying to be transparent. We are not trying, we are transparent, right? So to be able to kind of, those are things where I've found many, 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 many times. I'm going to say 7 out of 10 at least, where somebody's being shown something and they're not really sure, one, why they're just showing them that one or 2 of them. And then they haven't been, they give them an illustration, 5 minutes in the brochure, and tell them, get ready for paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a big frustration that I see.
So
right?
I love that you're bringing, sorry to cut you off there, but it just got my gears turning, because it's something that I am so passionate about. I know you guys are as well. And it's really ultimately our mission. When we say we're creating a better annuity buying experience, the reason that that's our slogan, right, is because of how broken the traditional annuity buying process has been. The traditional annuity buying process has not changed in over 30 years. Okay, we're talking about high pressure sales tactics, a lot of shady smoke and mirrors type of experiences out there. We're talking about annuities being sold more than they're being bought. That's the traditional annuity buying process, is that they're not actually buying it. They're being sold it because of high pressure sales tactics, smoke and mirrors, hidden premium bonuses that are bullshit. Excuse my language. All of that. And we create a better annuity buying experience by providing transparency, by putting you in the driver's seat, right? And empowering them to, once they know the subject matter and which annuity type is going to fulfill their needs and objectives, we then help them understand the products from the entire independent annuity marketplace, so that you can ultimately get the most value, the best bang for your buck. And we transition this older way of business to this new process that's allowing you to be selective on which product you buy. And we're shifting that dynamic. You're not being sold something, you're buying something because you want to, and you know how it stacks up against the other products, so that you're making an educated and smarter decision.
Mm.
So Tom, we've discussed that old traditional approach, which is, annuities are being sold and not bought. I'd like for the audience here to hear specifically about your approach to that process and how you do things differently. What makes the experience of working with you unique compared to that traditional way?
Well, the simple lead off is listening first to what the client's goals are. You've got to be patient, right? There's some patience involved in this, especially when you're just meeting this person online, right? I mean, I love this venue. I haven't had a real person-to-person meeting since 2018, just to kind of give the audience an idea. But it feels like I'm sitting in the same room as Zach and Jeremiah. I'm so comfortable with that, right? But that's the first part of that is you've got to it's a relationship. And some people take a little bit longer to get there, right? We don't have to worry about us, meaning the annuity associate. We don't have to worry about the company. We have tons of companies. They pay the commission. So from a company, I like to say we're company agnostic. We're client focused. So if you're truly client focused, you're spending a lot of time trying to figure out what the client's goals are. Who cares what Tom Boyle wants? Nobody should. What they should know is, one, I care, and two, I'm going to take my time to figure out what it is that you want on your timeline. Okay, I'm not worried about that. And then the other thing is, I would say probably one of my strengths is explaining these products in plain language. I don't like to do a lot of lawyer language. I don't skip over stuff, but I'm not going to bury you in mumbo jumbo. Like, I'm going to try to use a lot of, examples, right? We're also, when you're doing comparative analysis, which is a big part of what we do, comparative analysis for us goes from the company to company down through the product and its tools, right? And we're using, and let's say we were using one of the companies, a fixed index annuity with an income rider, we'd be using our multi-point annuity inspection, where we're going through and deciding, hey, what's the easiest thing for us to do? We can figure out in an income rider who's the top payout in 10 seconds. That's easy. That's what everybody else is going to do. Mm-hmm. The next level of it is digging into, is that the best one for what you're trying to accomplish in your goals? The first thing that we started talking about, right? And that's, you guys get this a lot in your meetings. And I'll use an example of, I brought down a picture of my dad. He's always looking down on me, so I know that somebody's watching me during my meetings. So
I love that.
You guys know that most of the people that we're talking to are already talking to somebody else. Most. And they've been shown a bunch of stuff, right? So they may tell you what it is. They may not tell you what it is. I'll give you an example of something. I've had two recent bring up a specific product to me. And the thing I say to them, I say, well, do you sell this? I say, I teach people how to buy them. Well, what do you think about this? I said, I think it's good, but it depends on when you're going to take income and depending on what you're looking for. And I don't really know what that is yet. So I'm not going to make a recommendation or even give it a grade because I don't know enough about you. And I think that's really important because using the tools that we have is all about empowering the clients to feel confident and not pressured. Okay, we're just trying to give them the tools. Most of the people that we talk to have done a fair amount of research, and they don't want to be told what to do. Mm-hmm. They want enough information so they can make the decision themselves. That's why I always say it doesn't matter what Tom Boyle wants or Jeremiah wants or Zach wants. It's what the client wants, right? So we spend most of our time looking at that point. Empowering clients to feel confident, not pressured, is
Yeah.
next level. If you want to go backwards and go back to what Zach asked before, like doing what the other guys used to do or continually do right now.
Yep. Yeah. So you show them, you don't tell them. And you show them by using the tools, which we share screens in our meeting process through Zoom. No matter where you're located in the country, we can connect you with a senior annuity advisor like Tom or like Zach that can show you all of the right options to be considering based on your financial goals and objectives. And we use the screen share to show you how these products chronologically rank according to your goals using our proprietary multi-point annuity inspection process. And I think ultimately what you're saying, Tom, is that's what empowers clients to feel confident about their decision and not pressured. Is that right?
Absolutely. People don't want to be told what to do, right? And they don't want to feel like they're coming from a place of not knowing. Depending, like you guys know, the people that we talk to are fairly well educated, right? So we want to make sure that we're very empathetic from the process, from where they are in their journey right now, to be able to help them learn about their options in a transparent manner.
Yep. Yeah. It's funny. I had an experience recently where I was fortunate to meet somebody locally about 20 minutes away from me. So I said, hey, if it's convenient enough, be happy to meet you at your home and talk through this. And they had a product already sitting in front of them. They had an advisor who came to them, slapped it on the table. Here it is.
And let me guess, that was the only one they were shown.
That was it.
Yeah.
And it's just wild to think that
it's a joke, man. Like honestly, like it pisses me off. It's a joke that something as important as taking someone's life savings or a pretty significant portion of it that they're considering putting into an annuity, and no one takes it more serious than just showing one product instead of allowing that person to compare and come up with a way to determine which one is truly right for them. Like, it's a joke. Like, I don't even understand how that's the way business is done in 2025. And that it pisses me off. Like, I'm sorry. It does, because it's wrong.
And
it's
by
so
the way,
wrong.
the way that this went about by suggesting this product was one phone conversation, and this agent showed up to their home with the brochure. And that was it, right? So no conversation regarding what their goals were, what was important to them, no deep dive into what does this outcome look like? How does this help you? Does it help you?
I think probably one of the more important things and I'm going to go back to the getting to know the clients and building a relationship, a rapport with the clients are so important. So with regards to our competition, whoever they are, right? The way that we do things is so much different because of the commitment to the client's span of that product. Is it a fixed annuity? Is it a fixed index annuity? Is it a SPIA? Is it a VA? Is it a RILA? We're going to be with the client for the lifetime of that contract. That's how this company is built. There are people underneath me when I kick it that are going to pick up and make sure that those clients are taken care of. A fixed index annuity is not a set it and forget it thing. You have the opportunity to rebalance. So it's really important to be able to say, hey, I'm going to stay with you for the life of this contract, because we're going to hopefully grow it for you or help allocate it for you. You guys both know we've had a tremendous amount of people calling us from their old advisors or, hey, I don't know what this thing is. I have a fixed index annuity, but it's underperforming. And we look at it and we go, oh, well, it's never been reallocated. What does that mean? Or I was told this, but it's really that.
Mm-hmm. And right? It's a good point, because it touches on the fact that only 8% of financial advisors make it in this business past 5 years. 8%, 92% fall off the wagon. And when you're buying an annuity like this, that is a long-term financial product, in order to get the most out of it, you have to have that advisor on your side at the time you're buying it, during the time you're buying it, and after you've bought it, for the duration to get the most out of it. And when those people fall off the wayside, what are you going to do? That's why working with a firm that is not going anywhere, to toot our own horn here, we were just recognized as an Inc. 5000 fastest growing company in the United States, which we're super proud of. And we actually ranked 294th overall. So we're in the top 3% of the fastest growing companies. We are here to serve. We are here to deliver on our mission. And that is creating a better annuity buying experience. And that starts before you become a client, during the time you're evaluating us to be a potential fit for you in your buying process, and long after you become a client. We're going to create that experience that you deserve. And that's what Tom's speaking to.
Yeah. And regarding, whether it's somebody who has an annuity and has had a bad experience, or somebody who may come in with some preconceived notion of annuities, when somebody's thinking about buying an annuity, what hurdles, objections do you hear most often, Tom?
Well, I'll go back to the other one. I lose control of my money, right? I think probably the biggest thing that I run into in our meetings is the lack of understanding of the different types that are available to you, mm-hmm. what the guarantees are, right? And I used to say this when I used to have a college planning, financial planning business, and you had two people at the water cooler, and they were asking about a question about it. One would say, "Oh, I can't. Don't file this document. You're not going to get any money," right? And they may make the same amount of money, and they may come from the same neighborhood, but once they close their door, it's a totally different financial situation. And depending on what you're trying to get to, this goes back to the goals. What are you trying to accomplish, right? And what do they know? Hey, I've always had my 401k or my IRA, or my parents always told me to invest in ETFs or gold or whatever that is. You're going to uncover that by asking questions. And then ask if they understand these annuities. Would it be okay if we went through? Because once, and you guys know this, once you go through the types of annuities, which are not a lot, there's only 4 major ones, and you can slice off 2 to make them a little bit more different. But generally, my conversations will go through those, and I'll say, well, where would you like to begin learning about? Hey, I'd like to go over there first. Right. And you go through that. And once you go through that, you're either going to find out. And look, annuities may not be for everybody. They might not be. But that's a good space to help somebody figure that out. Really. And that's really kind of where I find the biggest confusion. I don't want to lock my money up. I've heard they're bad. There's too many products. I don't know which one is the right one. I think probably that's one of the great reasons. And we're very technology driven as a support for the clients, right? So you're right. There could be a lot of annuities out there, but because of the technology we have, we can drill down and help turn that 100 roads into 5, into 3, into 2, into 1, where you can make an educated decision.
Yeah. I think that's the most important part, right? Is giving people, we're empowering people to be in the driver's seat of this decision. And all we're doing is like acting as a tour guide, right? We're just kind of narrating what they're looking at, how to compare the features and benefits of this one versus the next one. How this company stacks up against the next company, and so on and so forth, based on the client's goals and objectives. And we're just trying to help them get down that path, of which road to take, which annuity type to consider, or maybe there's multiple types to consider based on the objective. And we're just giving you all of the information. We're giving you what you want. And that is more information, more education, more transparency, to support yourself and ultimately help yourself make a better annuity buying decision. Like we're selling you confidence, right? That's what we're ultimately doing, and really giving you the key to test drive these different products with our experience and to help you see which one is the right fit. And then obviously give our 2 cents on what we feel is in your best interest. And so, Tom, you've been doing this now a while on our team. We're very grateful to have you. I think that you're probably number one when it comes to having the most 5-star reviews on our Better Business Bureau page. Could you share some of the success stories from clients that you've served who now enjoy the guarantees of an annuity, such as guaranteed income, or maybe it's a guaranteed fixed rate of return? Can you talk to me about those stories?
Let me think of. I have two. I have one that I think kind of sums up a really strong reason for my why that I get up every day, and I really like it. I'm not going to use the gentleman's name, but I'll use his state of Louisiana. And he came to us wanting to learn and was very skeptical of, in his first iteration of this guy from New York, me. And we spent time going over some of his thought process. His main thing that he was trying to accomplish was lifetime income, that he wanted to start now. And this is a couple of years ago. But really to leave to his wife. And then he had a son who's a special needs son, who's an adult, that the rest of that money goes to his trust to help his son. And we spent I don't know. I'd have to go back into my notes to figure out how many meetings we have. We ended up getting the product that he wanted. He wanted a like I said, a lifetime income product. Now, it was going to be funded with a 401k from his old business, from his company that he worked with. And he had another group of CDs that he wanted to get another policy with. So we were in the application process. We had submitted it to all that, and all the paperwork was going through. And I was telling him everything that was going on. Right? He's in rural Louisiana, and he's asking me, texting, calling, what's next? What's going on? And I said, listen, I got you. I'm going to walk you through everything. I'm going to make sure everything goes. He calls me one day and says, you're never going to believe this. Those CDs are available now. They called them. He's like, I'm a little bit upset about that. I said, I would be also, because he was looking for a specific dollar amount to turn into this other annuity space. Well, I told him, I said, okay, no problem. We can take those monies and put them straight to work. He said, you can do that? I said, yeah. So we went through that process. I walked through the process and got him through it, and he's super happy. Now, he called me on my 1 year anniversary, on the 1 year anniversary of that, and just ecstatic. Picked the right index strategies. Wants to know what the new index strategies are. Wants to know, has given us a lot of referrals. And this is a very serious individual. This guy doesn't, like my father used to say, he throws compliments around like he would throw a manhole cover. Right? Not easy. Right? So he's become he's a very good person, but a great client and a friend. Right? He checks in on me. Which is what I really think is a very strong part of this business. Now, is everybody like that? No. Right? Not everybody's like that. But that was a tough nut to crack to help him. I think most people would have gotten frustrated and said, you know what, maybe you should go somewhere else, or I can't spend any more time. Where I thought all along, because early on I knew what his why was. I knew what he was trying to do. Right. So super important. That's a great example. Another example of a recent meeting that I have, and I'm still working with this person that I think is really important, is single woman approaching retirement, wants to work part-time as a nurse, really smart gal, and really is getting it. Really feels good about the income, when to turn the income on, with the example of the companies, asking great questions, right? And at the end of our last meeting, I said, when would you like to set up our next meeting? And she said, I'd like to do that, set this up. And I said, how are you feeling? She said, I think I have enough information on what's going on, but however, I have a problem moving forward with something like this. She's a nurse. I said, you got to be kidding me. You're making decisions like that every day, life or death. She goes, that's easy for me. This thing is not. And I said, why? Why do you think that is? And she took a couple seconds to think about it. And she said, because a long time ago, I got divorced and we went through some serious financial hardships. And that really hit me, because that really kind of helped me understand what she was going through and why she was planning, how important this decision was. And she knew she needed to make it, but she needed to know that the decisions that were, the information that was getting put out in front of her were on point. And I got to feel that there's many, many more people like her out there. I guess 60%, this is an old statistic, 60% of all marriages end in divorce. Wow. We're supposed to be helping these people. We can't help them really unless we know what they're going through, right? And that's just about taking time, right? She could make a decision probably. I think she knows what she wants to do, but again, it's about me making sure she feels good about it and understands it and takes her time to get through that part of her life to move through. I could think of 100 different examples of, whether there's a retiree that wanted a security for a spouse. Wow. A lot of them, almost all of them. We have a great client out in Texas that is a very accomplished person in his profession and has a younger wife and has questions about his own health. And his most important why is taking care of her upon any sudden thing. Is there anything wrong with him? No. He's just making that plan just in case that she doesn't have to do that. And he's taking a lighter payout, guaranteed payout, just to make sure that that's the case. He's worked his whole life to amass this money. His why is so strong that he's willing to take less money up front because he knows she's going to get it on the back end. Now, you don't get that from one meeting or a phone call or maybe even 3 or 4 meetings. You've got to find out what really these people mean, especially when they're approaching retirement. I found most of the people that I'm talking to right now are in retirement, have been for a long time. And those are, important discussions also, because what are they afraid of? They're afraid of the analogy of the Mount Everest out. I made it to the top, but where did most people die on Mount Everest? On the way down.
Way down.
And that's where they're coming to us to say, look, I think I've done all right up until this point, but I got real serious questions of whether this is going to make it. And we need your help. And that has to be done very tactfully. Right. And
I couldn't agree more with that, man. I mean, he's using the analogy there for those that may not be familiar with it. When you look at the accumulation phase of your life, your working years, and then you look at the retirement phase, we compare that to an analogy of, using Mount Everest and the ascension as your working years, which, most people get to that pinnacle. And then most deaths and severe injuries occur on the way back down. And that would be your retirement phase in this case. And if you don't have a plan, chances are you're going to fall. And that's where we come in. That's where the annuities give you peace of mind. That's where they give you clarity and confidence of whether or not you can get down from the mountaintop. And Tom is an expert at helping people with that.
I always look at I want options for the client. I want them to be able to be, we use the word diversify, right? But the strength in annuities is the guarantees. So you have the guarantees and you have the non-guarantees. You don't have to be 100% in anything. In fact, you should never be 100% in anything.
Amen.
Right? So the diversification play is the most important part. How that fits in each individual's is different. And it takes a little bit of work to be able to go in there and figure that out. And the way we do it is we spend as much time as it takes for the client to be able to do that. If they're willing to put in the sweat equity and into the research and analysis of it, so are we.
Yep. In every case that you gave, those three scenarios, the greatest commonality that you find is confidence, peace of mind, and a sense of relief.
100%.
An annuity can do that every time with a guarantee as long as it's used in the right way.
Yeah, it's leveraging the guarantees of these types of products in the right way, right? The appropriate application of the guarantee, whether it's a guarantee of income, a guarantee of a fixed rate of return, a guarantee of principal protection. So there's no downside risk. It's about the application of that guarantee and leveraging it for your best interest. You know, there's a thing that is coming to my mind, and you know, it's not part of our segment here, but you know, one of the things that when I looked at this space, like when I was trying to transition from my past career and I got involved in financial services, I explored every nook and cranny of this industry to see what it was that I wanted to be. What could I apply myself 100% in and help people? And, you know, I looked at just general financial planning. I looked at the investment advisor role. I looked at retirement planning. I looked at life insurance and all these other things, annuities, and so on. And one of the things that I was always scratching my head at when I looked at like the investment advisor role or that financial planner role is they all use these like fancy softwares that first nobody that's a layperson can understand. Like only advisors can understand it, or an engineer type of mind. It's too complex. So all the software engineers out there that build those complex retirement or financial planning softwares, you know, you need to make it simpler. But when I looked at it, a lot of those softwares, they use these like confidence levels or confidence scores. In other words, they put the plan together and then they say, here's where you're currently at, you know, in terms of getting to age 95, and you're currently at a 40% success rate. But if we add this in or change this or that or optimize this part of your portfolio, you're going to, you know, we want you to get to like a 75%, you know, success rate. Well, I find that funny because people don't look at their future in terms of just percentages of success, right? We don't think like that. And let me ask you this, right? Because like retirement planning is such a much more difficult and complex type of financial planning. But think of it like if you were boarding an airplane, right? And they're like, hey, we're going to California today, and we have a 75% chance of landing this thing. Would you jump on that freaking plane? I wouldn't. I mean, I don't think I would unless it was 100%. But people try to manage people's retirement plan with no guarantees. No guarantees. They're just trying to use the markets, use market returns, do some tax planning, do some estate planning, and then come up with this assumption that is still hypothetical because nobody knows what the future holds. and they run it through their Monte Carlo simulation that's supposed to come through and take it through a stress test.
Yeah.
And they're still like, hey, we can make it through 75% of these scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
How can anybody sign off on that and say that that's a good thing?
Because they're the old model of let's put a big box of fear on the table.
Yeah.
Is what they push. Right.
It's mind blowing, man.
Yeah, it is. And look, I mean, people are smart. We talk to them every day. They're talking to multiple people. They're coming to us because they're like, that doesn't taste what I'm being fed. Right. So, and again, it goes back to the type of people that are finding us. Right. The old model is the old model. They're still doing it. We run into it every day. We run into it every day. We have by the way, we have all the same technology available to us where we can run all this stuff. We don't even use it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. And when you're looking over, it goes back to, if you understand the marketplace of who the people are talking to, right? Are they talking to a credit union? Are they talking to the bank? Are they talking to the Fidelities, the Schwabs, the Fishers, the independents? If you understand their business model, you can all of a sudden glean what's going on. It doesn't take a rocket science to fill it out. You just need to understand it's the playing field of which these people are. Why are they showing me this? Why are they telling me not to? Right? Why are they telling me not to do an annuity? Well, who is it? Oh, it's a broker over at Boopy Doop. I go, well, I can tell you why, if you want to know. They go, why? Because their model is a fee-based model. They can figure out and stretch your fee out over a period of time, and they know what that's going to generate, whether they win, lose, or draw. Okay. When you do an annuity, it's a one-time commission base, right? If you have money in an annuity for somebody like that, or they're thinking about getting an annuity, that means that block of money, that guy cannot put a fee on because it's going to be gone for a while, 5, 7, 10 years or more. Well, why do they sell annuities? They sell annuities in some of these examples as a parachute out the door. Oh, Mr. Smith is leaving and she wants to get an annuity. Show her this one, sell her this one. Right? And you go, oh, okay, now I kind of understand that. Well, that's happening at the bank. It's happening at the credit union because that's their same model. They want a fee-based model.
Yeah.
Right? So, why aren't they showing me oh my God, I've never seen all these companies and all these rates. And why would they, if you're showing me a 5-year fixed annuity of 5.75, why is this person showing me 5.5? Because it's probably the only one they can offer you there. Now, I don't think there's anything that's bad going on there. That's just the best one they can offer. They're not offering the market. And I'm not saying that there's any bad things going on across the market because, like we said before, there is an argument to be made for money managers. There's an argument. Are they all created equal? No. Not at all. There's an argument made for percentage of your assets to be in the marketplace in some way, shape, or form. That gets smaller as you approach retirement or in retirement. Because as we get older, generally we get less, we become more moderate investors in general. Right? But understanding the marketplace and why I'm talking to this guy, what's their agenda? Why are they talking bad about? They're offering annuities, but they'd rather me do this fee-based. If you understand the playing field, you can be very good at the game.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a huge statement there, man. We got a couple minutes left, and as we embark on righting a lot of these wrongs of our industry, and we continue to serve our prospective clients and help them shift away from the traditional way of doing this business and ultimately help them improve their education, provide them more transparency, and empower them to make a better annuity buying decision. What do you see for our industry ahead? What is the future of annuity buying to you, Tom? And how do you think we can continue delivering on our mission?
Let me answer the last one first, because I think that's important. Then I'll answer the first one last. The transparency is super important. The ability to use consumer-driven technology to help them along, for them to be able to do comparative analysis, I think is really important. Using more education-based from the agent-facing person, right? I think is really important. Taking the time to get to know the clients. For us, we're making a lifetime commitment to that client for as long as they want. That's our standing thing, for no additional cost. Is anybody else doing that in the marketplace? I don't know. I doubt it. But a lot of the people that come to us come through the internet, where they come by way of they've been given our names from clients, referred, and they like to consume and make decisions on their own. But they may do 90% of the work themselves and then come up and they need that 10% to help them make a decision.
Yeah.
We have to meet them in their space. Okay. There's some clients that are going to be further back on the line. They may just be learning, right? They may just be stepping in versus the person that's done 90%. We've got to be willing to take them from the step in all the way up until they can make the decision that they feel comfortable with.
We just become best
That's
friends.
our commitment to them. Those are the type of clients that come to us. Now, I see a little bit of, when we bump into them, where people look at this as this is a transaction. And this may be the younger people that come through that don't want to talk to people or feel they have enough information to make a decision. They may be coming into and they're going to go buy direct. We see that group. I see that group as a much smaller group, because at the end of the day, I think people still want to talk to people when they're making big decisions, especially on their lifetime savings, income, legacy play. I want to leave all my money to my grandkids, to them, to whatever that reason is. They don't want to leave it up to a push of a button or some back office employee that has no connection to them whatsoever. So I see the education platform being the most important for the clients. Because again, who cares what Tom Boyle wants? It's about the person on the other side of the screen and what they want and what they need and what is viable.
Yep. And that's where I think, to reiterate, where your core values align so much with what we do. The mission that Jeremiah and Steve set out, that drew me in as well, was just, hey, I gotta be able to do the right thing. I gotta have a career where I can put my passion behind it. Like you said, wake up every day with a purpose and adding value to somebody else.
This is a real special opportunity. We have some great people working with us. I am one of the older guys in this company, and I'm not an envious person by any means. Never have. I've lived a pretty good life, a great life actually. I'm very fortunate. But I do look at the younger people like Zach and some of the other advisors that are here, and I'm like, wow, they got so much time to be able to do this and be able to help so many people. That's a very cool opportunity for somebody in their 30s, 40s, right? I think that's super cool. And the opportunity to be able to help so many people obviously is the leading thing. But It's a very dynamic field. It's going to continue to be so. I think I know that we're on the cutting edge from a technology standpoint. Some of the things that we have bringing to the marketplace in the not too distant future are going to be, wow, they're awe-inspiring. I got to give Jeremiah, Steve, and the rest of the crew a lot of big pats on the back, because we're going to change the industry.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for sharing your insight today. It's invaluable. Anytime we have a meeting, there's always something to take away from your knowledge. So appreciate everything that you share with us. And I think it's been really helpful for our listeners too, just to know, hey, folks like Tom are out there that can help them and are really looking out for their best interests.
Well, my pleasure. I really thank you guys for inviting me here. And I think you're doing a great service to the listeners out there.
So with that being said, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, wow, I want to speak to somebody like Tom, or maybe you just want to speak to Tom in general because you like his message today. Maybe you're thinking that you need more clarity and you want that clarity and confidence in your annuity buying decision and ultimately your retirement plan. You can check out the description of this show, and there will be a unique link to schedule a free annuity discovery call with Tom and the rest of our team. And they'll walk through all of the available options. No pressure whatsoever, no sales pitch, just education and transparency to help you make the best decision for your annuity and for your retirement. Thank you, Tom, so much. And we're going to go ahead and close this out. Everybody have a great day and take care of one another.
Thanks, guys.
Hang on. We are.
And we are.
We got to close it. Tom, you got to join us in the closing.
And we are the Annuity
Dudes.
Dudes. Signing off.